A very good evening to one and all. I warmly welcome our Principal Dr. Sister Lalitha Thomas, our distinguished speakers, Mr. John W. Amos, Dr. Nikhil Gerard, teachers, and my dear students from India and abroad, to this virtual international webinar conducted by the Department of Mathematics, Jyotinivas College Autonomous, Bangalore. Becoming future ready is a tagline which we all need to think about, especially after the pandemic. The changes and challenges we have faced has made us all pause and think what life is in store for us. So let us think differently, act positively, and face the future no matter what our technological environment looks like. Let us think about becoming future ready by witnessing this short video clip. Today's program has two sessions, Looking Beyond the Horizon, Skill Development by Mr. John W. Amos, and Pursuing Higher Education and a Career in Research by Dr. Nikhil Gerard. We now invoke God's special blessings on all of us during the lighting of the lamp by our principal, Dr. Sister Lalitha Thomas, followed by a prayer by Mrs. Sherin John, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics. Let us pray. Lord God, our Father, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you that you promise to be with us always. Today we give you our hearts, our minds, and our lives. Come, speak your words of life into us. We pray that you would deepen our comprehension, broaden our thinking, and transform our understanding of what we are about to learn. For you are our wise counselor, our perfect teacher, and our faithful friend. We humbly ask you to shower your blessings upon the speakers today so that they may share the most of their knowledge. May we also absorb the invaluable knowledge experiences and put it into practice what we may learn today. We pray that you would bless our principal, the faculty, students, and the technical team who have worked for this webinar. And we seek your infinite blessing for the success of this webinar. Be with us, O Lord, and bless us. Jyotinivas College is a premier institute for women, re-accredited by NAC with an A+ grade in 2021. The college is also recognized and conferred the status of College of Excellence by the UGC. I'm delighted to invite the chief patron of this webinar, who by her example sets a very high professional standard in managing the institution, combined with compassion that springs from her spiritual depth. Our principal, Dr. Sister Lalitha Thomas, to address the gathering.
Thank you, Sherin, and the Department of Mathematics for this wonderful afternoon. We are virtually connected with each other. I'm happy that I'm virtually meeting 610 participants. And we are also most happy to have John and Nikhil as resource persons today. I think it's going to be very, very interesting session for our students. And I like the tagline in the short video that the department had presented. Hello, future. We are ready. I simply loved it. Yes, I want to tell you all, my dear students, I want to ask a question. You said, hello, future, we are ready. I want to ask you a question. Hello, my dear students, are you ready right at this moment? And I want to tell you and share with you, I simply loved this ad for some years back that I watched. This is something with attitude. This ad is all of us and you girls in Jyotinivas, it's famous. We have fashion show. This is about a fashion show. Young lady like you, beautiful, participates in this fashion show. She's ready and she walks onto the ramp majestically, confidently, with dignity. She holds herself and walks. As she reaches the middle of the ramp, fraction of a second, her left leg shoe gives way and she just drops down. And the person with the camera comes very close to her face and you can see a drop of a tear in her eyes shining. But then soon she helps herself. She manages to sit up, removes her other shoe from her right leg, stands up, claps for herself, and starts walking the rest of the ramp with the same dignity, with same confidence, with same smile, with same majestic. And that, he says, the attitude. So I need to ask myself today as I participate in this webinar, making ourselves future ready, what is my attitude to life? How do I react, respond? Things that happen around me and within me, how do I respond to them? Do I quickly gather myself up, motivate myself, walk back and walk ahead confidently, or sit down, moan, wait for others to help me, to lend a hand, or exclude oneself, refuse to take help, and drown myself into myself? Well, I can go on with different types or various ways we respond to things in life, but I know and I'm very sure that my students of Jyotinivas College have right attitude and will help themselves in grooming themselves with that positive attitude to life. And one simple attitude that I would request for all of you today, well, I'm also sorry when I say students of Jyotinivas, I know it's not only students of Jyotinivas who are participating in this webinar, it's an international webinar. I'm sorry, I forgot. We have students from all over, and a number of states from India. So to all our students, all our participants, so need not be even students, but I also believe all of us are students all through our lives. Whenever we participate in anything for that matter, let us have this attitude to learn something new. And that new need not be very new at all. It may be something that we already heard, already knew, but then it's coming to us today because I need it today. And so that's the reason it's repeatedly it comes to me unless I learn a lesson from that. So when I have this attitude of learning, there is no question about whether a session is interesting or boring. It all depends and matters how I am disposed to, what is my mindset and my attitude. If my attitude is to learn, sure and certain and 100% I'm sure, and that this has been my experience, I will learn something new in everything that happens around me. And I'm sure that you will learn something valuable today with our two resource persons waiting to give their very best with all the expertise that they have. They will share with you. I'm sure they will ignite you, they will inspire you, and I'm sure you are going to be motivated and encouraged with this sessions by two of our resource persons. So I wish all the best for our participants and a big thank you to our resource persons. And I want to congratulate the department for taking time off their schedule and organizing an international webinar to add value to the study and academic life in Jyotinivas College. Thank you. God bless all of us. All the very best.
Thank you, dear sister, for your kind words. I now hand over to Dr. Rani Titus, Head of the Department of Mathematics, to introduce the speaker for the first webinar.
I'm glad to introduce our eminent speaker for the first session, Mr. John Wesley Amos. Mr. John has his master's in computer application, executive MBA from IIM Bangalore, and executive certification on leading innovative change from University of California, Berkeley. He is a technology leader, change agent, agile coach, and lean agile, DevOps practitioner, and is having over 2 decades of experience in software engineering, consulting, and program management in Oracle. He worked on various industry segments globally, Hong Kong, Canada, and USA. Currently, Mr. John is the Director of Software Development in Oracle Financial Service Cloud. It provides platform for hosting software as service applications. Mr. John is also our industry expert in our Board of Studies. Thank you, sir. Now I invite you to address the students.
Good evening, dear students, and greetings to all who is part of this webinar. I was given the understanding that there are people joining from internationally. So whichever the time zone you are, I would like to extend my greetings to all. And I'm so delighted to be part of this webinar. A, it is internationally being hosted, and B, I'm going to deliver this talk to the highly intellectual, smart, digital savvy, millennial generation Y students. You guys are so special. You guys are in the age where the information is freely available and we were able to connect across the globe through the technology. This kind of privilege we didn't get in the earlier generation people. And also I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Sister Lalitha Thomas, the principal, and also Dr. Rani Titus, the head of the department, and also all the organizing committee members, Dr. J.K. Navis Vigila, Mrs. Sherin John, Dr. Sister Mary Margaret Nirmala, Dr. V. Margaret Pundrani for extending the invitation to deliver this talk. I was so impressed by seeing the title, Students on Becoming Future Ready. If you see that, I wanted to give, first of all, the kudos to the people or organizing committee who kind of vision, some kind of thoughtfulness around that, becoming future ready. It is the subset of the superset of Jyoti Nivas College mission. The mission says that intellectually enlightened, morally upright, spiritually oriented, socially committed, emotionally balanced young person. This is yet another step to provide this kind of platform for our students to become future ready. It is otherwise, as our principal said, that it is giving a challenging question. We are ready. Are you ready? The future, right? So very, very thoughtful. And making a student to becoming a, like future ready, it is not that easy one. So somebody can give the control to me? Okay. Yeah, thank you. It is not that easy one. It is the collaborative effort of the college and the professors and lecturers and the environment and the students. The end beneficiary who is going to be is the students, but it is not going to happen alone. It is going to happen with the collaboration of all these entities in the ecosystem. And I wanted to say one thing. I have the privilege of sitting in the curriculum review board with your professors. I can see the level of commitment and dedication they put forth when they are putting together the curriculum for you, the students. I don't know whether you guys realized it or not, but this is what it is. There is a lot of, brainstorming goes inside to make sure that the students are not going to miss out in-depth study of various notions of mathematics. At the same time, not to lose or not to make the students to overload. It is very balanced curriculum they put forth, and that also gives for you people to spend some time to learn the things which is associated with your studies to make you to future ready. This is all part of the ecosystem. It is not coming just like that. And I noticed one another thing, when they are giving this balanced curriculum, they also thought through that when they go to the higher studies, they should not miss out the fundamentals of the undergraduate, the mathematics concept, be it is the differential calculus or differential equations or numerical methods, theorems or linear programming, whatever it is, they ensured that some of the fundamentals are given during their undergraduate so that they won't struggle when they are taking the next level of courses in their masters or doing the research. So this comes with the success factor of the student. So student has to realize it. The theme also indirectly gives another message. Okay, as an ecosystem, as a Jyoti Nivas College, we are giving all this platform, but it is your responsibility to become the future ready. This gives me the famous phrase, we can take the horse to the waterbed. It is up to the horse to drink the water, right? So the Jyoti Nivas College is giving all the platforms, students, it is our responsibility, your responsibility to, capitalize it and make use of it. Trust me, not many colleges are giving this international level platform for the students. It doesn't matter whether we are connecting virtually or, in class. The quality of education is the same or much better than what you guys had when you are co-located. Just I wanted to call out. When we are coming to the students, predominantly, I have noticed three set of students. One is, like they are well focused, right? They know exactly what they want to do in the future. And they also know that which industry they wanted to pursue their career. But probably they may not be, put their thoughts on the execution aspect. But that's what I said earlier. The generation Y students are very, very intellectual smart and digital savvy. They know that the informations are in their fingerprint because that is the age where they are living in. We call it as that information exploration age. But that also comes with the caveat of the time killers or the robbers of the time. There are technologies, there are applications that will steal the students' time as well. But we need to be a little cognizant about it. But the one set of the people is very focused. The second set of the people is go with the flow, right? This is a little dangerous. So they will be saying that, I'm not generalizing, but in general, right? Go with the flow, whatever the opportunity comes, I will take it up, but I don't put my heart and soul to get what I want. What is my aspiration? I don't want to try towards it, but whatever comes on my way, I will grab it. But the problem with this set of people is really they wanted to go to, say, for example, Disneyland in Florida, but they will end up in Banargeta because they are not focused, but they wanted to take it something, whatever comes on their way. But I wanted to give some, like advice to those set of people to focus on your goals. So let me recap it. There are three set of people. One is, like a focused, and the second set of people is, like go with the flow, and the third set of people is, like they are, pretty much, like they don't know what they're supposed to do, right? So this is that opportunity for the people with a category 2 and 3, and they can take this opportunity to set the goals, and the career advisors are here, your professors are there, and the resource people are there, but I want you to make this opportunity to set the goals and move forward on that. So we don't want to be in the bucket of 2 and 3, we should be in the bucket of A, very much focused on that. So what we need to do for that? Right, we need to have our goal to be set. Before we set to the goal, I would say that this is the right, the semester you guys are there, or the year in your curriculum or schooling you are there, either is the second year students or third year students, this is the time you can make your path. Whether you wanted to pursue your, a career, whichever the verticals you want, whether it could be a biochemical industry or biotech industry, or biomedical industry, or e-commerce, or commerce, or microeconomics, or you wanted to pursue your career in data science or information technology. The exposure is too much for the graduates who are in the mathematical department, right? Mathematical major. The opportunities are vast, but you need to make up your mind which path, which career vertical you wanted to position yourself. That is point number one. The point number two is there are set of students, they wanted to pursue your career, you wanted to pursue your higher, like a studies, masters, or you wanted to do some research or become a research scholar. So that is another path you need to set. Which path you wanted to take it. Definitely, as I said earlier, you can't be in the path, like third category. Like I don't want to do anything, or I don't want to grab whatever comes on my way. Yeah, sometimes it will help, but that is not what you want to be aspired. So either you need to get a job in the area where you wanted to be, where you are passionate, or you need to pursue your higher studies. So that is the two paths. You need to make up your mind. So once you make up your mind, the next step is you need to do a goal setting. So that means how I'm going to achieve my goals, because I know that clearly. I made up my mind, like clearly that this is the path where I wanted to go. But how do you set your goals so that you can achieve those things? So how do I achieve my goal? Trust me, students, it is not going to be that easy. Nobody in the industry is going to give the job as soon as you passed out from the college. It comes with, like additional calibers, additional soft skills. That's what I am going to talk about more on. How do you develop your skills, personal skills, so that all the knowledge you gained, how you can able to get the jobs very easily. But for that, you need to work hard or work towards very due diligently. The reason why I'm telling is we are all, in your same bracket, everybody is in the generation Y, and whatever the information that is available, everybody else also going to get that. Everybody has got the smartphone. So how are we going to make the difference? That's where I'm going to put little more emphasis on how to achieve it part. The third one is it is working towards it. It is not, like one-time activity. It is a continual activity. Let me give you a small example for you to relate it well. I have an objective. Say, for example, you can say that my goal or short-term objective is to reduce my weight to 10 kg or, like a 10 pounds. But it is a goal. But if you ask me, is it a smart goal? No. Why it is not a smart goal? Because it is not telling anything clearly with respect to measurable with a time bound. So if you fine tune this goal a little bit, it will become a smart goal. So let me phrase it for you people. So I wanted to reduce 10 kg in 6-month period of time. That means, like it is a smart goal because we are telling that it is a simple. Why it is a simple? Because we are giving enough time. We are not telling that, we need to reduce the 10 kg within, say, like 2 weeks time period or something like that. It's a kind of realistic goal we are setting. And also we are setting some time frame so that we can, like measure the progress. So those are the kind of smart goals we need to set it. For that, normally what piece is missing is the process. So when you wanted to reduce the weight by 10 kg with a stipulated period of time, you might have already consulted with a dietitian. She or he might have given an instruction to you what you're supposed to follow. That is the process. Probably it could be something like once in 2 weeks, they need to go and to talk to the consultant and see that whatever the instruction she or he has given is being, like working out or not. So that is where the process come into the picture. So a lot of time what happens is we set the goals and we will set the smart goals, but we don't do the last piece, trust me, the process. So the goal will be achieved, attained with a continual process putting on top of it. Okay, so the same analogy would apply if you wanted to, pursue a career in XYZ field. Then we need to go to the next step. How do I attain the goal? What kind of white paper I need to present it or prepare it? What kind of internship I need to put it? Then you need to put a milestones, the SMART goals around it. SMART, the abbreviation is simple, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bounded. Whenever you are putting the goal, please keep this acronym in mind. A lot of times, when it comes to the goals, you need to be very cognizant about long term and short terms. Because the long term, the single example is I wanted to pursue my career in biotech company or like some commerce firm. That is your long term or like a near term goal. But the short term goal is like how are we going to achieve it? So you need to break it down into a small chunk and make it is attainable and easily doable. Okay. And another things you can visualize is those who are in the third category. Like how do I become economically sound? Right? That is very much it is needed in this new generation, especially when we are facing a lot of challenges. We can't depend on somebody else when it comes to the finance. How do you become financially independent? Only the education can give. Already you are already in the second year or already in the third year. You should not miss that opportunity to go to the next level of, like putting your goals and making it to more realistic. Those who are not yet dreamt, I would, like really encourage the set of people, like they don't know what they wanted to do. Think about that, how you wanted to become economically independent. That will give, like a lot of, like thought process around it. And you put that, like another goal. As I said earlier, my path is I wanted to pursue a career in my own choice. If you are not dreamt about it, like the mind is very powerful. So if you have not done this before, you just to dream it. You travel as if, like you are working in a multinational company. You imagine it, that the brain will do the miracle for you to make the things happen. I wanted to put this quote. Like Abdul Kalam, he said this way. He gave the definition of dream. Dream is not what you see when you are in sleep. Dream is something which does not make you to sleep. So that is the real definition. If you see that, like something, it is really, like going to hit you, then you can know that you are not getting the sleep till you attain the passion. That is what the real dream. So those who are not yet, imagine it. So where is my career is going to be, or which university I wanted to do my master's? Please imagine now itself. Automatically, the next level of things will come into the place. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that, the first step is those who are not done this exercise, please do it today itself, where you wanted to set your path, which path you wanted to take it, and write down your goals, the long-term and short-term goals, and make sure that it is attainable and put some timeline around it. What I normally recommend to the people, those who come to me, is I will tell them to write it in a paper. The reason why is, when you are writing it, there is a mechanism happening with the hand and the brain. The things will go and get recorded in your brain. The brain will, the subconscious mind, that also will does the job for you. So for just the sake of this goal settings and putting your long-term and short-term goals, please write it in a nice paper. Then we can, like put it into your digital devices and put the calendar, all those things. Okay. So this is the first step. And once you are clear on this, as I said earlier, we are in a world where the competition is very, very high. So we need to develop some, like skills that I'm going to talk about that is called personal skill development. Since we are not co-located, so I wanted to give you a small exercise so that I will get your focus back. Okay. You don't need to respond to anything, just to read the sentence by yourself, where you are sitting, just to read it and find out how many F's are there in the sentence. Let us take some, like a 30 seconds. Just read it and find out how many F's are there in the sentence. All right. So how many of you got 3 F's? How many 4? How many 5? How many of you got 6? In fact, it has got 6 F's. I will go back and show you. Most of the people might have missed that F, which comes in the second alphabet of like a sentence. Our brain goes with the, like a sequential order. Did you guys notice? You can go through one more time. All right. I presume that I got some attention back from you people. Okay. So the next step is, once we have identified which path you wanted to do, right? Then the next step is, how do you develop your skills, personal skills? One of the key important, like skills that need to develop is communicate. Why communication? Because this is the vehicle through which whatever the learnings you have learned, you will communicate to the audience. As I said earlier, nowadays the information is available and it is given that you will pass out your college degree with a flying colors. But how this information you can make it available, applicable whenever you are doing a presentation or whenever you are doing a pep talk, whenever you are going for an interview? How do you communicate so that you can influence with the knowledge whatever you occurred and bring that value add to the department or the company where you are going to take up? The same would apply when you are giving an interview to pursuing a higher degrees. So the communication is very much important. Even though we have a lot of knowledge, subject matter knowledge are there, but we are not able to articulate, you can't make the difference with others. So that is the whole reason why we need to focus on this communication. There are a lot of articles available, a lot of informations are available. Sometimes it may look, it is kind of repetitive, but you see to that, like something you can take away from this. I'm going to talk about a small, simple framework that you can always remember, that is called 3V. So the study says that, the verbal, so when we are communicating it, there are three aspects comes into the picture. The first one is verbal. That is nothing but what we are talking about based on the information. So if you are giving to presentation on linear programming, so whatever you have the subject matter knowledge, that is what you are going to present. That plays only 7% of 100% when it comes to the effective communication. So what is the second part? The vocal, the tone, right? So the way in we are communicating, it shouldn't be that monotonous. Sometimes what happens is the tone is so monotonous, it will become a lecture and people will fall asleep, right? Sometimes I have seen that people are saying that, like, how are you? I'm so fine, but they will say that I'm fine. So the fineness won't be there in your voice. So you need to modulate when we are talking about it. You need to put yourself, your feelings needs to go along with your tone. So that plays, like a 36%. I still remember that when I think it is around 18 years or 19 years back, when my VP, Mark Baronshaw, he comes and gives a quarterly report. He will call for a big all hands. There will be around 2,000 of people will come and join for the all hands. And you won't believe that when we come out of the hall and everybody will be enriched, the way he presents, the way he communicates, the way he set the tone, it is so vibrant. Still, I'm remembering his name means that influence that I got from our ex-VP, Mark Baronshaw. So that is the level of, like a tone we need to set. And you need to see the body language. He will be occupying the whole stage. He won't stand and talk in one place. He will walk and talk. And the way he will give the data points, that will be a mind-blogging. And he will say that, like this quarter we have made some $100 million. How are we going to achieve $150 million? Then he will also give the facts of our competitors as well. Then it will think, then we will go with so motivated because one person talking to 2,000 audience and he can make an impact. That is the power of communication. How do we influence others? I'm talking about in the large scale, the same applies to the smaller scale as well. So you train that. You should be very cognizant or cautious about when we are conversing, you need to put the tone as well, the modulation as well. Okay, that is the second important point. The third one is the visuals. I'm talking about this by experience, which happened some 15 to 18 years back. At that time, nobody taught me about this framework, verbal, vocal, and visual. Even at that time, we are all, Gen X, generation. So at the time, like not many PowerPoint presentation and all. Now you guys got that facilities. Now how I am presenting today, we have the PowerPoint presentation. It will make the people to relate very well, the image, the expressiveness. So use the PowerPoint or visuals wherever possible. So whenever you are preparing any white paper, like digitize it. That will be, like very handy when we are demonstrating it. But when we are talking about the communication, I wanted to keep this simple 3 V's in mind: verbal, vocal, and visual. When I talk about the visual, you see that how much impact it will give. One point of time, I think this is some 3 to 4 years back, I was interviewing candidate. He's some 5 to 6 years of experience. I wanted to get a candidate with Java Swing knowledge. So the idea here is, he can develop this application. What the application I want was, it needs to be run in the desktop. At the same time, that application needs to run in the internet. So the idea behind is, the people going in the field, the marketing and the sales people, they are going in the field. They should be able to capture the data. At the time, the internet is not that powerful. So they need to come back to the office and they need to upload the information to the back office. So this is the skill set I'm looking for. Then one person came and I was conversing with him. Then immediately the gentleman opens his laptop and said, "Sir, you wanted to see my work, what I have done with the Java Swing." He opened the laptop and he demonstrated it. I stopped the interview there itself. This guy was selected because I no need to hunt anybody, beyond this, because he demonstrated it. He already done the work and he came prepared well for this interview. He bring the laptop. This application was also there. He demonstrated it. He got it. This is a smartness we need to pursue. So my suggestion or recommendation is, whatever the white papers we are doing, whatever the small internship project you have done, keep it handy, right? When we are giving a pep talk or when we are talking to somebody else, that will become, more easy to, present it to them and you can able to influence them. So verbal, vocal, and visual, these are the 3 V's fundamentally helpful when you are communicating or influencing with others. Okay, so I will stop here and I wanted to go to the next personal skill development. Before that, we'll do a small exercise, okay, 30-second exercise. So those who are, a little tired or I couldn't visualize how you guys are listening or not. So I don't want you guys to get bored. Let us do a small exercise. So take a deep breath, inhale and exhale. Okay, look sideways, right side and left side. If you wanted to stretch, stand up and stretch, and you can sit now. Okay, so take a deep breath. Let us move to that next technique or the next skills that you need to develop is time management. So here also I will talk about only the framework so that will be applicable not only your student life, but also when you go to, the office or higher studies or, wherever, beyond that, when you become a full-fledged person, and still this technique is going to apply. Okay, so pay attention on this. And everybody has got, 24 hours, right? But how some people were, effectively using this 24 hours, of course, 8 hours goes for sleep and the remaining hours, and how they are successful. A lot of time we ask this question, right? How are you managing your time? How are you able to do this? But I'm not able to do it. There are some hidden factors which is robbing your time. That's what you need to identify it. If you remember that, you guys are a smart people, but you need to be cautious about which social media or which application is eating your time. Unless otherwise you know that, you cannot able to cut down the stealing of your time. Whichever is stealing your time, you may not able to, eliminate that one. It will be sitting in the blind spot. Okay, so but time management is very, very important to achieve whatever the goals we are setting. I said that, we need to put a process around it. And when we are putting your SMART goals, the timing is very important. A lot of time what happens is, I heard people coming and telling that, even my daughters come and say that, "Dad, I want to do it, but I'm not getting the time." So where your time is going, who is stealing your time, right? So I will talk about, a small framework to differentiate between what is the urgent and important task. Okay, if you are familiar with that or make yourself familiar, then you can master in time management. And I'll also talk about the 5, techniques to manage your time. Okay, this is your part of, self-disciplining yourself and managing your time. Okay, so this will really help you to attain what the goal you wanted. Okay, so if you see this framework, I have put it something here. One quadrant, it is talks about important and urgent. Okay, what is important? The important task, we can't miss it, but you need to do it. But how it is different from the urgent? Urgent is, like a time-bounded activity. If you're not, like meeting the time, you will lose that opportunity. Let me give an example for the urgent things, right? You are going to the airport to catch a flight. If you're not going on time, you will miss the flight. That is a urgent work, simple analogy, okay? So if you see the items which is in this quadrant, the important and urgent, these are some of the examples so that you can relate. The crises and emergencies, and the class assignment. Definitely the professors and lecturers, they might have given some timeline. You need to complete it, otherwise you won't get the full mark, right? As simple as that. So like a deadline-driven projects, right? When you are going to your workplace, they will give you the project. If you are not completing within the stipulated time period, you are going to incur the loss to the company, and also it will badly reflect on your performance as well. So simple thing is, like anything time-bounded events and very important ones comes into this particular bucket. Okay, so urgent and important task, you should not miss out. Then the second bucket comes is important and non-urgent. So it is not non-urgent at this particular point of time. And if you are not doing it, this will become an urgent, right? So you need to complete, or you need to do your TOEFL exam, right? If you wanted to pursue your higher studies or GRE, right? If you are not doing it within the stipulated time period in a planned manner, then what would happen is in the last minute, you need to rush it through. That will become an urgent. So we don't want to get into the situation if you are a good planner. So the task such as, like a planning, and you want to do some research and investigation, and it's an important one, but it is not that timely urgent if you are planning it well. And study for an upcoming exam. It is very important, right? You wanted to get a score, but you need to put it in a systematic manner. And in building a relationship, it is a long-term things, right? With your professors, lecturers. If you wanted to build a relationship, it is not going to happen overnight, right? You need to prove yourself. It is an important task, and you need to develop on that. You need to plan for that. Another example, attending a coaching session. It is an important, right? So you need to be able to distinguish between what is important and urgent, important and non-urgent. These two, like quartiles are very, very important so that you can attain. Again, I'm relating to your goals, what you said earlier, because it's a self-disciplinary things. If you miss out the things, you can't achieve. Maybe you can achieve it. It is not in a pleasant manner. It will create a lot of challenges as well. So you need to be able to identify which are the tasks are urgent and important, which are the tasks are non-urgent and important, and you can, like prioritize it accordingly so that you can be successful. The next 2 quarters comes is non-important and urgent work. Yes, it is very careful, right? Some of the distractions. From where it comes from the external party, right? So your friend, okay, let me not give this example, right? Your like another department person, he wanted to do some work, okay? So he is seeking a help to solve one of the, calculus problems, okay? So you said that, hey, you come on so-and-so date. But he didn't come on so-and-so date, and now he comes and asks. He missed that opportunity, but he got a pressure, and he is coming and asking you, hey, I need your help. But you are in the middle of some other work, which is you planned. You are a very systematic person. So you already planned it. Now that will become a distraction for you. Then what happens is, if you pay attention on that particular task, whatever the task you planned, you may not be able to complete it. Okay? So sometimes, like some unplanned meeting comes. I'm talking about that work situations, right? You need to be prepared to say no, or you need to prepare to give another slot. If there is a slot empty, you can give. Otherwise, it will become a overload for you. So you need to be able to distinguish it and plan accordingly. This quartile is, like very, very important, non-important, non-urgent. According to me, again, it is according to me, you can make a judgmental call. According to me, these are the robbers of time, right? Gossiping, chatting, spending too much time in the social media, and doodling, and long and excessive, like breaks, any time wasters. These are the things, will preoccupy your effective time. You need to be able to identify it. Okay. So I'm spending little time because this is going to help you to manage your projects, manage your goals very systematically so that you don't get into the situation of, I don't have a time. You have all the time. It is a matter of how you wanted to make use of it. Okay. So this tool, trust me, still I am using it. A lot of successful, the executives are using it because they will prioritize their work and they cut the corners of the task which is non-important. They won't pay attention so that they can be successful on what they wanted to achieve their goals. Okay, please take some time and use this tool. So I'm giving a small scenario so that you won't forget it. Okay. So Tina went to her hometown for a couple of days on vacation. Okay. So Tina went to her hometown for a couple of days on vacation. When she's returning to college, she needs to determine how to get few things done as soon as possible. Okay. So why don't you guys help Tina? Okay. The first task is submit an overview assignment. Okay. She has to submit an overview assignment because she went on vacation, right? So there is an assignment given to her. So which bucket it will come? Okay, you yourself tell that, right? So it's supposed to come in the important and urgent. Why? Because it has a time associated with that. So respond to emails. Which bucket it will go? Because you need to respond to email, right? We may not know that which is the important emails, which is the one it is waiting for your, like a decision, so that based on your decision, they can respond. So it needs to go to, it will go into important but non-urgent. The third task, call back a friend who left a voicemail. We don't know, right? What kind of, like a message. So, it is not important, but it's urgent. Sometimes, it will be a, like a different message, or the friend might be needing a help or in a challenging situation, whatever it is. So it goes into the third bucket. Respond to a casual Instagram message, right? So it could be non-important and non-urgent. It is clearly says that, like casual Instagram message, right? So sometimes it may be, depends on the person, it become important and urgent as well, right? I'm not commenting on that part. But, like please use this framework very wisely, okay? And when it comes to the time, like management, there are 5 essential, right? So I'm talking about the practicality. So how you wanted to, like prioritize this task list, right? Now you know this framework and you prepare the task list. Say, like you can start with a week, or once you matured enough, or once we are very much fluent to manage this framework, you can prioritize based on the day wise as well. So prepare the task, what you wanted to do during this day, and maybe it will go by, like hour by hour, or it may go by, like a day by day as well. So prepare a list for a week, or you can extend it for a month, or you can extend it for a quarter as well, or you can extend it for a year as well. But you prepare the list. Then you prioritize based on the framework what I taught you, right? Whether it's urgent or important. Then you plan for that, right? So when we are planning it, as I said earlier, some of the tasks which already, like preoccupied to you, already you planned it. There is no, like additional time to manage on that. So at that time, like you need to brave enough to say no to that, or you need to evaluate it in such a manner that if it is so important, you take out one item from the prioritized list and you add this one so that you won't get stressed out. And also habituate the habit of closing the list, which is already accomplished. That means, that will give you extra bandwidth for you to take more tasks. This is more important. A lot of time, like people think that, I'm good at doing the multitasking. Sorry, you are not. Our brain is not tuned to do the multitasking. If you are doing that, if you are forcing the brain to do, what the brain does is, it will give a time slot in the brain. The CPU, or that, like the power of the brain, what does it do is, it will switch over from task A to task B. But only one brain, only one processor, but it will switch over. When it is switching it over, if it is a complex problem, you cannot able to do it very effectively because the switchover time takes, lot of, like waste. And the studies, what it says is, rather than doing a parallel task, do a single task, one task at a time, and go to the next task. Because you can reduce the stress as well, and you can able to complete the work in a quality manner. And the study says that, the parallel task takes more time, 20 to 40% longer than doing a single task. Okay. So this is another tip, when you wanted to, not to steal your time by others, one of the recommendation what we tell in the management is, to our engineers, block your calendar so that nobody will put or schedule another one in a genuine manner. It's not like simply blocking the time, but this is another way of doing it. And I hope that I'm doing well with my timings. The last one I will touch upon quickly. It is more relevant. That is, like writing the resume, right? So now itself, you need to build that habit of, like writing a resume. It is very important. Sometimes students, you may think that, like I'm still in the college, what I need to write it, what kind of, this is the question you need to ask. What are the things in my resume it needs to go, right? Definitely, like whatever the extra work you have done, any project you have done, any white paper we have done, these are the materials or these are the information that will go into the resume. At least for the sake of putting the things into the resume, you started doing that one. Right? If you are doing it, like based on your general interest, the professors giving that assignment, if you do it, that automatically will become the content for your resume. So then we'll be wondering that, like how much I can put it in the resume. Shall we take it out some of the non-value added item from the resume? That is the level you need to go, right? So, so you think about, so what are the materials, content needs to go into your resume. Then also, some of the companies, they will ask the reference. So build a good relationship with your lecturers and professors and principals so that you will get a good references, or wherever you are doing the internship, get the reference. That will add more value. This is one of the points to keep in your mind. And a lot of people, like ignore the covering letter, but it is very, very important to give you a synopsis of what you are aspiring. That goes as part of the covering letter. So this is the three things at least you need to remember when we are writing the resume. And your career counseling department, of course, they will tell you, but just keep this in mind or prepare now itself. And another thing is, remember that you will be applying for n number of jobs. N number of jobs will have a different description. So based on the job description, customize your resume. Okay. No one size fits all. Okay. It may take little time, but you need to be, do that work and be truthful. If you have not done any project on that area since the company asked or they put it in the description, don't manipulate it. Okay, that will lead into a lot of trouble later point of time. It is easy to find out. Keep the size of the resume not more than 2 pages. This won't applicable for students. It will be okay. And mention that the quality and the quantity of your achievements. You have to put what are the achievements we have done. You quantify it. And also you make sure that you mention that one as well, right? And the resume should, I'm going a little fast, I think, so I'm about to finish. So you need to put your contact information. That is very important. What is the focus statement and your key skills, the contribution, what you are going to bring to the industry, right? That organization. What is your value add? Whatever the applications you have done, you relate it based on the job profile. Okay, that is important. And any of the white paper you have submitted, you put it, your educational background, any of the rewards you got it, you put it. If the referrals they ask is, definitely you need to mention it. This is a structure. You can go and search in Google, like Google is our digital library nowadays, you will get a lot of, like formats. But these are the key things you need to remember. Sometimes, you are searching, a lot of junks also will come. So you need to distinguish between what needs to go at your level. So that's what I'm giving this structure. And of course, as I said earlier, cover letter is very, very important. Okay. So with this, what I wanted to conclude here is just a quick recap. So we need to set our path. As I said earlier, now it is the time, those who are not yet set the path, please set the path. Not setting a path is not an option. Either you are going to pursue your higher education, or like your like research, or getting the doctorate. That is one path. The second path is like getting a career, getting a financial independence in a aspiring company, not any other company which comes on my way. You need to pick and choose that. I need to get a job in this IT firm. You need to set it and you need to work towards that. I need to get a job in the biomedical company, right? Maths will apply anywhere, any industry they need. Why Python program is so powerful? Because all the libraries, you, the mathematician, you have, like given this theorem and other things, we package it and put it in the, like Python program as a libraries, we are using it. We need people who has, like very much subject matter knowledge on the, like mathematical area. So you choose your company where you want it to be. And as the principal said, that you need to ask the question, I am ready. The company, are you ready to take me? That is the attitude we need to have. And set the goals and achieve it in an iteration manner with the set process. Trust me, students, we can set the goal. And if you are not putting the process, it is a failure. Okay? Put the process. A lot of the people miss that one. Develop the people skills. I have given 2 samples. One is the personal skill, interacting with the outside the people, that communication skills, presentation skills. All those things comes under that category. Okay, external, how you interact with others. Another skill is the time management, that is for you, internal, right? The writing skills, that is an internal. I'm just given an example, you guys can build upon it. But the framework here is, the takeaway here is, when you are developing your soft skills, think about it, whether it falls into the category of external ones or internal ones. Example, time management. Okay. I would say that now you are ready to face the future and this competitive world with easy. Dream big, come out of the comfort zone and look beyond the horizon. Don't be within that, the box. Come out of the box and challenge the face. The world is for you. Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I am possible. So hope it is going to be a very value-added session, and this will set the tone for you people who has not yet set their goals and objectives. Please do it today. Today is the day. Thank you so much. If I have any questions, I can take it now.
Sir, you have very clearly explained it is not enough just learning, but the student need to have a good communication and time management to become successful, and how to prioritize their time and the task. I'm sure you have triggered the students to set their future goals and the practical steps to achieve them. Now, I think we can take the question, sir. The first question from a student, Pavitra: what are the chances we have in getting our internship with the undergraduate degree?
Yeah, so it is a very good question. I'm so glad that that triggered the thought process, right? As I said earlier, now itself, right? So it looks to me, you already set the path. After completing your college, you wanted to pursue a career path, right? So what we need to do is, like once you identify which industry you wanted to go, and you consult with your career counselor, okay? And also you can go and see whichever the vertical, say for example, you wanted to pursue a career in, say, IT firm. You talk to that people or you talk to your professors, they can give the leads and you can able to get that internship. There are the firms, there are like a startup companies. They need people like, like that mathematical background, because they will be writing a lot of algorithms. The engineering, like IT firms, they will write a lot of, like logics, which is, like the foundation from the mathematics. So the lead, what I wanted to give is talk to the right set of the people And not, of course, like not all the companies are giving the internship, but there are plenty of companies. But you talk to them and try to get the lead. They will help you, especially in the modern, the digitization world. Like we look for the, like students which are, like completing third year, second year. We are giving a lot of opportunities. Only the thing is, you need to connect with the right set of people, to the leads. You should be able to get it.
Thank you, sir. There is one more question, more or less connected to this. As freshers, it is very difficult to enter into any firm. So what is the expectation we have to meet?
Fantastic question. Now already you understood the problem, right? The problem is only the challenge for the entry level freshers to enter into the firms. So now you need to ask the question, what is the differentiating factor you wanted to bring onto the board? So we need to ask the question, why I'm not getting, what is the value add they are looking for that is not in me? Right now itself, prepare some white papers. You do some, like a detailed depth study on some of the areas like linear programming, or if you wanted to do some, work towards the data science. Now itself you work, write a lot of, like white papers and apply some of the knowledge what you got and a small prototype. Then you go and present it. As I said earlier, we don't have any choice to say no to you. So you put that, like effort on those areas. And when we talk to them, they will see there is a value add, because we do a lot of research works, but we don't have enough subject matter experts. When you come and present your ideas, as I said, now you need to apply the communication skills. I have, like some work I have already done it. You need to convince that with the visuals, with the documentation, and you should be able to get it. Definitely you should be able to get it, but you need to work towards on that. So you have to change the mindset. They will take me and train me. Rather, you need to reverse it. I have the potential. I have the pattern. Now, if you take me, you will get benefited. So that is the mindset. We need to go with that.
Thank you, sir. Just the last question. A student by name Aishwarya has asked, what should be my answer if the question is, why should I hire you?
Okay. So I would trigger that one, right? Rather than somebody is asking the question, why should I hire you? You need to go back and tell, hey, if you hire me, this is what the value add you are going to get it, right? Change the, like a plate against other way around, right? So those days are gone, right? You will ask the questions, like they will ask the question, you will respond it, and they will go, no. So I think, you need to go with the mindset of, I am a subject matter expert. This kind of techniques, this kind of, like a knowledge on the fundamentals of mathematics is not there in your industry. If you hire me, this is what you will get. I am coming with this kind of potential. I have done a lot of R&D. I have, like understood the theorem. Based on the theorem, I put that, like a prototype, how it is going to help in the industry. You wanted to take me, I'm there. So that is where you need to think. You have to change the paradigm, right?
Thank you very much, sir, for answering all our questions in detail. I'm sure the students have understood what is the expectation of the industry. So with this, we have come to the end of the first session, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm so delighted, as I said earlier, to share my knowledge. And I'm sure that you can, like apply these things, and definitely it will make the difference, and you can face the future with ease. Okay, dream, start, like realizing it, like how it is going to be, right? When we are doing the higher studies, now itself imagine what kind of joy and pleasure you are going to get, right? That will take you to the next level of excellence. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. We move on to the next session. It's my honor to introduce the speaker of the second session, Dr. Nikhil Raj Gerald. Dr. Nikhil is a postdoctoral researcher at the graduate program in acoustics in Pennsylvania State University, where he works with the Sound Innovation in Metamaterials and Biomedical Acoustics Laboratory to conceive and demonstrate first of its kind acoustic prototypes for sound and vibration control. He completed his doctorate in mechanical engineering from North Carolina State University after defending his dissertation on acoustic and electrical wave functional materials. During his graduate studies, Nikhil was an active member of the Acoustical Society of America and was also a recipient of Larry Royster Scholarship Award in 2017. He has been involved in several collaborative research projects with the Nonwovens Institute, North Carolina Department of Transportation, and was also part of the team that made it to the finals of the Revolutionary Aerospace System Concepts Academic Linkages Program, Mars Ice Challenge, conducted by NASA Langley. Dr. Nikhil featured in the year 2018 on American Institute of Physics' SciLight, which showcases the most interesting research across the physical sciences published in AIP publishing journals, and was awarded the Best Poster Presentation in MAE Graduate Research Symposium in 2018. Dr. Nikhil, a passionate researcher, has authored several peer-reviewed publications on renowned journals like Advanced Functional Materials, Physics Review B, Physics Review Applied, and Applied Physics Letters. Dr. Nikhil Gerard will be joining the Ultrasound Research and Development team in Philips, North America. It's only appropriate that we have you this evening, Dr. Nikhil, joining us from across the seas and address the future of our country on pursuing higher education and career in research. Thank you. We welcome Dr. Nikhil now.
Thank you so much, sister, for the lovely introduction. Thank you so much for your time and attention this afternoon. I'm very thankful for being able to talk to you all and to all the students at this event, at this webinar. And I know it's 4 p.m. on a Monday, and it's not the most exciting thing to be on a webinar, but I hope that we can keep this as concise and interactive as possible. And so I'd like to start. The next slide, please. So I'd like to loop you into what the contents and the structure of my talk is going to be like. Because I'd like to keep it concise and I want to keep your interests on high, I'd like to keep this between 25 to 30 minutes and open the last 20 minutes to questions and hopefully help you solve help you answer any questions that you might have. And during the talk, I'd like to go over a few things. I'd like to first talk a little bit about myself, about why you might be interested in talking to me, because I found myself in a very similar situation to what most of you find yourselves in right now. And then after, I'd like to talk a little bit about what life would typically be like after college, what kind of problems you'd face, what kind of challenges you'd face. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about what you would need to do if you had to pursue higher education. And before I conclude, I'd also like to talk about things I wish someone told me. A lot of these major skills are overlooked, and I wish people spoke about some of these things in more detail. And I've made a list of some of these things that I personally feel are very important for people in India and people in the math and physics and science backgrounds to be aware of. Next slide, please. So about myself, I was born in Chennai, in Madras, where I lived for the first 21 years of my life. Next slide, please. Actually, you can move on all the animations in this. So I just want to talk a little bit about how life moved on for me and how my journey was very similar to what I'm pretty sure most of you listening to me would be experiencing. So I grew up in in Chennai. And growing up, I was a big lover of physics, and I was also a musician. I used to play music. I used to play the piano. I used to play the guitar. So I was very fascinated by creative uh, career opportunities. Essentially, I was more interested in arts, but I was also interested. Hello, I'm sorry I lost you there. But I was interested both in science and arts, and but I was somehow more interested in physics, and because of that, when I finished up my high school, I looked up different courses and different programs, and the one that stood out to me was wanting to pursue a degree in mechanical engineering. So right after my college, I took my interest in physics, and I started school or college in mechanical engineering at Loyola College in Chennai. And 2 years into my college time, I realized that I was not that big a fan of mechanical engineering. And this is why I think listening to me is interesting, because I was very, very confused 2 years into my college. And I figured that I liked physics, I liked applied physics a lot, but I was somehow not enjoying mechanical engineering. And for those of you who are not very familiar with what mechanical engineering is, it's a lot to do with design and optimization of machinery, of automobiles, of aerospace structures, and all of the big machines and stuff. But I was never excited about that. I was always excited about finer details like physics and mathematics. And so 2-3 years into college, I was very confused, and I was not certain that I wanted to continue staying in the mechanical engineering department or continue working as a mechanical engineer. And roughly around that time, I figured I could take my interest in physics and try and find some opportunities to pursue projects that are on my interest and not just my degree. And that's when I actually was able to apply to something called the Summer Fellowship Program at the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, IIT Madras. And this was very interesting. I'm not going to get into the details of what I did and bore you all, but when I did this, I had the opportunity to work with a professor with IIT, and I found out that a lot of my interests that lay in applied physics could still be relevant to engineering and mechanical engineering. And at that time, I also learned this very important lesson: is that what goes on after college is that what you know about the field is not as important as what you bring to the field. So in essence, as a mechanical engineer, it's not important for me to be particularly aware and up to date with machines and automobiles, but it's more important for me to bring the finer details to be able to really solve problems in this industry. And so that's what's really valued. And so when I realized that, I was sure of the fact that I wanted to pursue sciences and learn more and more in detail about the smaller problems that people face in industry or even in academia, and sort of solve them. And so at that time, I was a bit certain that I did not want to go for a job or find a job immediately. And so I joined the North Carolina State University. I did a bunch of applications, which I'll talk about in a bit more in detail with regard to how you could do the same if you're interested. And I started my Master's of Sciences at NC State. And interestingly, I still stuck around with the mechanical engineering department. I still, till date, I'm a mechanical engineer, despite the fact that I was very confused at first. And when I started, I was not particularly enjoying the coursework. I was still discovering myself, but I was definitely a little more sure about what I liked and what I did not like. And at that time, because I liked space and space exploration a lot, I had this opportunity to write about a project and work on a project for NASA. And when I did that, we actually had the opportunity with a bunch of 6 or 7 other students. We had the opportunity to go to NASA Langley. So that was like a dream come true. I never thought I'd have the opportunity to go to NASA. And we had the opportunity to demonstrate the working of a prototype. So essentially, they had a problem that they wanted to solve with regard to excavating ice from the Martian surface. And they asked for proposals for people who can come up with interesting solutions on how this can be overcome. And we basically had an idea and we demonstrated it. And it was was an interesting experience, but working on that, I still realized that a lot of my interests were in a slightly more defined area of mechanical engineering, more niche area, and not aerospace or even device building like the one I did on the project. So the project was a good experience, but quite honestly, I was confused through it. And it was also an interesting learning experience to learn what I was not particularly excited to pursue in the future. So that was interesting. But after the project, I continued working on research, and I was able to work on this topic called acoustics. And acoustics is essentially the study of audio or sound wave propagation. And I was able to get into this topic where there was there was this topic, there was this area called acoustic metamaterials where people were able to control waves using materials. And I found this very interesting because it was very futuristic, and I was able to find applications for it in the future. And I was able to see that this could impact 3 or 4 different kinds of areas and not just one, like the projects I'd worked on previously. And so, and also because I was more interested in the science than on the application, which is not necessarily the best thing. Like everyone has their interest, but so after the confusion, I got into my acoustic area, and then I pursued a PhD in acoustics, which I finished in 2020. And after that, I pursued a postdoc at Penn State University, and using all of my acoustic experience, I was able to find a full-time industrial position, and I'm transitioning out of academia to an industrial position in Philips, which does biomedical ultrasonic imaging. So you can see the figure there. It actually shows you a very fancy 3D image of a baby, which is very, very futuristic, and it's only made possible because people are able to control acoustic waves in ways that have never been possible before. So I find all of this very futuristic, and essentially what I'm trying to tell you is that no matter what, you're going to be very, very confused. And moving on and on, you'll somehow figure yourself out. And considering that I've had experience both as a PhD and in academia, and a little bit of interaction with industry, I think talking to me might help. And I'd like to go over a few more things and hopefully hear from you about what questions you have. So moving to the next slide. So life after college, step number 1 is to not overthink it too much. You are definitely going to have new opportunities. You're definitely going to have a job somehow or the other. You're fortunate enough to have to get into college, and you're fortunate enough to be able to graduate, and all the best. Congratulations for that, by the way. And when you finish that, you're definitely going to have opportunities. But this, no matter what you do, even if you're the best student in your class right now, or even if you are barely making it, no matter what, I can assure you that after a point, you're going to have the need to take things to the next level. You're definitely going to be confused. You're going to find work monotonous. And at that time, there are 2 things that really play an important role, because getting your first job is great, but you're going to, if you want to take life to the next stage or be able to solve problems that give you some satisfaction, you need to do 2 things. And can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, this works. Yeah, thank you. So you're going to need to do 2 things. And to put it simply, the first thing you need to do is to build skills. And this is not a surprise. You essentially need to keep working on new softwares, new programming languages, new tools that people have just started using. You need to be relevant. You need to stay relevant. So it's very important to keep building skills. But another important thing, which I feel that many people don't actively talk about, is that you definitely need to do research alongside building skills. And this is not just if you want to pursue a career in research or scientific research, but no matter what you do, you have to figure out what skills you must learn to solve the problems that you want to solve. And so people tend to do this in 2 different ways. Some people essentially focus on the industry. For instance, you could have a startup company and you could be focusing on what the industry needs and what problems exist in the industry. So that is research in itself. And essentially what I'm trying to say is that despite working in a company of your dreams, or despite working on the job that you think is a dream job, if you don't do research to find out what you could solve, you would still have an issue with work life and work satisfaction is what many people call it. Another way of looking at it is to also get into the science, or in your case, the mathematics, or essentially get into the weeds of the tools that you are building in your skills and be able to find out what skills you could solve through the tools and not just the industry. So for people who are more interested in the tools, like for instance, the math, particularly the math or particularly the physics, and not essentially where it gets applied, or people who are interested in building these tools and not just catering to people right away, I think higher education is very, very useful, and pursuing a career in academic research is very, very useful. And my next slide to you is actually a pitch on why higher education and academic research is very, very, very exciting. And I'd like to do this by means of an example. And this is acoustics because it's my area, but this could be absolutely anything. And I'm just trying to give you an example of what people getting into this area could offer to this area. So for instance, number one, slide number, animation one, yeah. So the most intuitive thing people think of acoustics is they think of speakers. So audio engineering is a very intuitive area or an intuitive background that people can bring to acoustics. And this is probably not relevant to you guys. This was never relevant to me because I was a mechanical engineer. But this is one way in which you can enter this area. The second way, next slide. The second way that you can enter this area is through electrical engineering. And this is not surprising because if you look at audio devices around you, they are actually connected and powered by electrical energy. So essentially a lot of the understanding or the experimental analysis of audio devices happens through electrical engineering. So that's one perspective. The next perspective is mathematics. And this is very relevant to you guys. And for those of you who probably know something about acoustics, know that this is a one-dimensional wave equation. But what's interesting is that almost all of you have probably seen this before as a PDE, as a partial differential equation. And that's very interesting because all of acoustics or all of physics is fundamentally mathematics. And I think mathematicians are at a great perspective, are at a great point to be able to predict the future of the world. So you guys are actually very powerful because you're able to speak the language that engineers are not able to speak in order to be able to solve the challenges that engineers won't be able to solve 20 to 30 years from now. And another perspective is that a lot of the tools that you use, that you build based on these mathematical ODEs and PDEs essentially go into solvers, which build on how waves propagate and how waves interact with nature. And essentially, a lot of that is integrated into computers. So computer science is also a perspective of acoustic waves. The next perspective, interestingly, is mechanical and aerospace engineering. So vehicles like cars and aircrafts, when they fly or when they go through a medium, they actually experience a lot of turbulence, a lot of Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we got it.
I'm sorry I lost you there. So a lot of the wave propagation there is governed around mechanical and aerospace engineering, and which involves solving problems in the context of acoustics. And the last perspective is that of physics, which is entirely different because some of the theoretical physicists who work on quantum mechanics and quantum physics and condensed matter physics, solid state physics, they essentially look at the 1D wave equation actually as the time independent Schrodinger equation. Now, this is entirely different, but what physicists like to do is see acoustic waves as just another kind of wave system, analogous to what quantum and condensed matter behaviors exist in other physical systems. So having a physicist's perspective in acoustics is also very different, and it's also very, very sought after. And if you lost me there, what essentially I'm getting to is that, next please, is that despite what you bring to the table, you can enter this area through a variety of different routes, and through all of these routes you bring your own unique perspective. So each of these routes have their own different perspectives. So if you were to talk to another person, if you're a mathematician and I'm a physicist, and if we were to have a conversation about the same topic in acoustics, we'd bring totally different perspectives. And that's very, very useful and very interesting, and that governs problem solving for the future. So that's very sought after. And not only does this contribute to your contributing area like acoustics, but it also contributes to your background area like mechanical engineering or audio engineering or physics or anything of that sort. So, and this is very good because essentially if you pursue higher education and if you pursue a career in research, you're actually contributing to two entirely different areas. So you'll be very much sought after, and you'll be doing society a service if you were to pursue higher education. So if you are like me and you're interested in getting into the details of the topic that you are wanting to pursue a career in, I'd strongly encourage higher education. And if you are going in to take a job immediately after you graduate, I'd also recommend thinking about these things, because even if you don't stick around and want to come back to higher education, all of these perspectives still apply in industry, and it's important to think about them actively so you can do research and build skills, just like what I just mentioned about. So if you're interested in higher education, I hope the next part of my talk would be of relevance. The next slide, I want to tell you a little bit about the different steps that you could take for higher education. And many of these apply for not just higher education, but pursuing research or building skills in industry as well. So even if you're not very keen on pursuing a master's or PhD, I'd strongly recommend hearing me out, and I hope I can give you some food for thought. So step number one to pursuing higher education, next slide, please, is networking. And I know this is not something that people talk about very actively. I think when I was an undergrad, people did not specifically encourage me to network, but what I'd recommend is, before you think about what you want to do, where you want to do it, how you want to do it, I'd recommend reaching out to people with career trajectories that you are interested in, like people who you think you'd like to be when you grow up. Reach out to them, have a chat with them, and have a very mature conversation with them. Ask them when they decided to do what they decided to do. Essentially, have them tell you what I told you in the beginning of this conversation. And how you do this is you first use your internal networks. You use your family, your friends, your teachers. And if you don't find people in your internal network, don't be afraid to reach out to people. People are always willing to help. Use other forums like LinkedIn, career fairs, and we're in an amazing time where even Instagram and Facebook can be a great use to reach out to people and start a conversation. So once you do that and you have an idea, the next step, next slide please, is that you can choose a program or a degree that you are interested in, and this can be a Master's of Science or Master's of Engineering. This can be an MBA. This can be a PhD. And this could also be an undergraduate degree that you want to do in an entirely different area. So higher education does not necessarily mean a master's. It can also be a transition to a different area. But my point is that the steps 1 and 2 have to happen in coherence. So please talk to people you're interested in and make the step 2. Next slide, please. And so the next stage that you'll reach is figuring out your application requirements. And this is a pretty diverse topic. I don't want to get into it in too much detail, but I just want to talk about what are the different venues that you can pursue higher education at. The first one, of course, is India. And you could pursue an MS or a PhD in IIT or IISc. And the requirements here typically are your GATE. And if you want to do an MBA, you need to do a CAT exam. And the other places, you can actually just go to the end of this. That's it. Thank you. No, yeah. So the other places have different requirements. The USA has the GRE, the TOEFL. You have a personal statement, or what's called a statement of purpose. In Europe, you have IELTS, which is an English language testing exam. And in Australia, you have the IELTS as well, and you have your SOP. And in most of these places, they ask you for a CV. And these days, application requirements change. And I'm pretty sure that all of this is a Google search away. This slide is not meant to give you a hard requirements, it's just give you an idea of the kind of things that they need. And I'll talk a little bit more about these things in my next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next. Yeah. So the first thing I want to talk about are the exams. And depending on where you want to study, you have a variety of different exams. If you want to pursue a master's in sciences or engineering in India, you have the GATE. If you want to do an MBA abroad, especially in US, you have the GMAT. And if you want to do a master's in the US, you have a GRE. And you also have the TOEFL, which is an English language exam, or the IELTS. So I don't want to bore you with the details of each of these exams. And also, I'm not entirely up to date with them. But I think all of you have different requirements. So I don't want to get into it, but to give you a very high-level overview of what these exams are like, they are adaptive testing exams, which essentially don't just test how much you know, but also test how well you can progress through the exam. So the GRE and the GMAT also have an evolving test format depending on each section. So if you perform one section well, this next section gets harder, and stuff like that. So it's a very different exam from what you traditionally do in India, at least what I did back in India. I don't know if things have changed now. And the other important things in these exams, which are a little bit counterintuitive, is that they do a lot of quantitative and qualitative reasoning. Quantitative reasoning, you guys are math majors, you'll definitely nail it, but you'll also have qualitative reasoning, which is a lot of writing and stuff like that, which is new and which could take some time to prepare and do well at. And you'll also have to build language and verbal skills, and this can be hard even for people who speak fluent and people who don't speak fluent, because you have to be able to have a vocabulary that's not in everyday English that Americans and Britishers use. The other topic is essays. You inevitably, if you're going abroad, actually many of these essays are also required for Indian institutions these days, is that you need to prepare essays to talk about personal statements, which is essentially why you want to do higher education. And that's why I think it's very important to network and to talk to people and understand why they did higher education or why they did the degree that you are trying to do now, and to be able to use their experiences to tailor your personal statement depending on that. And don't worry, your personal statement, it probably won't necessarily be how you take life forward, because life always surprises you. But be very assertive, and writing a good personal statement really helps. In some institutions, you also have situational or behavioral type questions, which are essentially much more challenging, but the examples of those would be something like write 500 words about a time you faced a very tough challenge and how you overcame it. And writing that could be hard, but that's the kind of essay that some of these institutions require for GMAT or MBA courses abroad, especially. Another thing is recommendations. A lot of your higher education applications require your teachers, your mentors, or supervisors to give you letters that determine that talk about what you're good at and why institutions must take you. And this can be a little counterintuitive, or this can be a little bit new, especially coming out of bachelor's. But this is a very typical requirement in many institutions, both abroad and in the US, and in India. Sorry. And the next requirement is the CV or the resume, and this is spoken about very commonly. I don't want to get into too much details, but all I want to say here is that it's never too early to start working on your CV or your resume. And most importantly, when you network with people, find out about what kind of internships and certifications and competitions they participated in, and build your CV by participating in these competitions. So that's one way of building your CV. And the last part is actually not applicable to many applications, but these days a lot of the universities in US and India require this. I know in India, if you were to do a PhD in IIT, you definitely have this, where you need to attend a technical or a non-technical interview, and this is basically you having to be strong with the topic you want to continue working on, or also be able to exhibit a personality that is fitting for the labs or the groups that you want to pursue projects with. And this can be very situational dependent, so I don't want to get into too much details, but that's something that you would face. Not all of you would face, but some of you would. So that's also a part of an application material. The next slide, please. So the next steps, of course, is once you have all these application materials, which take a while typically, and I'd recommend starting early, starting a few years early if possible. A few months works too. But once you have it, please keep your submission date and your online sessions and all of that ready. And another important thing that I want to mention is that if you are concerned about the cost of higher education, don't be. There are always financial resources that you can apply for. Many institutions have financial aid that can help people who are in need. And quite honestly, there are lots of assistantships and projects that fund students to be able to work on them as a part of their higher education. And I did this myself, and I'd like to talk about that when I get to it. But that's an important thing to keep in mind. So don't let that discourage you. If you feel that higher education is going to cost you a lot, please don't let that discourage you. There are definitely ways that you can apply for scholarships and be able to get them. So moving on to the next slide, I want to now talk very quickly about things that I wish someone told me, some of these very important factors that I found very useful during my undergraduate and graduate years. The first one is, of course, networking. Next slide, please. And I say this number one because I think this is extremely important. And this is very important, especially because a lot of us who are very studious, or a lot of us who are immersed in textbooks and study material, tend to be a little secluded from the rest of the world. And that's not something that's bad, because we like to be engrossed in our own thought. But when you go forward, especially after college, it becomes very important to start talking to people. And I think we, in our early years, we severely underestimate how important this is. So I'd strongly recommend reaching out to people and definitely talk. And these are not necessarily very old people or people your age or people just a few years older than you. I'd recommend reaching out to a variety of different people. And you don't have to be too formal. You don't have to be too elaborate. Just ask people for a quick chat. Send them a message like the one you see here. Send them a message on LinkedIn or any platform, and talk to a variety of people. Ask them why they did what they did. Ask for help if some of these people help you with financial aid. Some of these people help you apply for financial aid. They don't pay you, but they help you with writing applications that can get you money for education. And don't worry, people always know that there are other people in need, and they are willing to help. And trust me, when you move forward, you definitely have to pay this one forward. You definitely have to respond to those undergrads who send you messages and be able to solve the problems that they ask you for help with. So that's definitely going to be there. So I strongly recommend networking. I did not do this enough. As a matter of fact, I started this very late, but I strongly recommend doing this in your undergraduate years, and you'll be doing it more and more as you go forward in life. The second thing I want to mention is the importance of choosing mentors. So when in your undergraduate years, you choose you choose to do undergraduate projects as a part of your course, or you could even be doing projects that are outside of your course. This can be in your subject area of interest, or this could be a completely different area. But when you choose mentors, this is a very, very important thing that many people don't consciously talk about. So it's very important to not just choose the mentors who people think are the best, and not just choose the mentors who are like the head of the department or like the biggest published scholars and anything of that sort. Because it's very important to choose mentors who inspire you, and also mentors who would vouch for whatever you do after you've done it. So it's very important to account for the fact that these mentors would write your recommendation letters. So think about that. Think about what you could get out of working for this person. And aside of that, I also strongly recommend communicating your professional and personal goals to your mentors. So tell them what you want to do and why you want to work with them. Don't just tell them that I'll work for you, but tell them why you want to work for them. And also communicate your personal goals. So don't hesitate to talk to your mentors about your personal life. I think a lot of us tend to shy away from talking to your mentors about your personal life. And in academic institutions, that's why they exist. Your teachers, your mentors, people you work with on projects, they don't exist for us to get scared of and be very timid and shy with. They exist to actually help you solve your problems and go towards your personal and professional goals and write those letters. So consciously think about this when you choose mentors. And the last thing, and this is something that is relevant to pursuing higher education as well, is strongly avoid working for free. And all of the people that you could work on projects with can give you money to work on them. And this money can help you in your tuition, or they can give you a scholarship, they can give you an assistantship. So always have this discussion, because when you have this discussion, they're also more invested in you. And you also have the responsibility of knowing that what you're working on is giving you some money in return. And this is very useful because it's an important stage of growing up from being just a student. So this is a very good point, and not many people speak about it in India. The next thing is to maintain a feedback loop, and this applies to all things in your application material. Whatever I just spoke about, I did this. I was very guilty of this. I kept my application material to myself because I always thought that I'm doing something very new and I shouldn't share it because there could be plagiarism. People could steal my ideas, but don't be that way. Find the people in your network, your friends, your family, your teachers, your mentors. Talk to them, and I think this reiterates why mentors and networking is so important. Talk to them, send them your CV, send them your resume. Of course, if you feel that it's not safe, don't. But with the people you feel who are your well-wishers, please send them your CV, your resume, all of the essays that you're working on. Get them proofread, ask them for help with it, ask people for help with it. And your exams, please perform these mock tests and interviews and keep making sure that you're doing well and you're on track to complete what you want to do. And constantly evaluate your next steps. You're always going to have challenges, so keep thinking about what you have to do next. And the last thing, which I wish people had spoken to me about, is the importance of decision making. So what may seem like the best opportunity for everyone may not necessarily be the best opportunity for you. That's completely understandable. So whatever you are evaluating, always weigh out your pros and cons, consult with your peers, experts, well-wishers, and talk to them about your personal situation and what you want to do, and only make your decisions after you have studied them thoroughly. And something that I personally always go with is that when I make a pros and cons list, I actually ask myself, which opportunity would I regret not taking? And I think that's a nice way to think about it, because you can always work hard and you can make it out of something if it's the wrong choice. But the pain of that hard work is actually not as hard as the pain of regret. So regret is a very painful thing. And so don't ever not jump at something that you later on will feel that you regret not doing. I hope that makes sense. And I hope that is of help to you guys when you go forward. And so I'd like to conclude. I'm sorry if this went a little over the time that I had initially mentioned, but I'd like to very quickly conclude by just going over some of the key things I spoke about. I spoke about the importance of doing research and building your skills and taking your skills to solve problems in the real world. I then spoke about the importance of networking, time and again, the importance of talking to people and figuring out what they did, why they did it, and how you can do something similar. The next thing I spoke about is about how you find the right program for you, why this is an important step in concurrence with networking. And then spoke a little bit about application submission. I went over it very quickly, and I hope that is of help. I hope you can do your own research on this and figure out what you want to do and what is the application requirements. And the last thing I spoke about is choosing your next challenge. So regardless of what happens next, there's going to be another challenge. So make sure you choose the challenge that you want to fight. Fight your challenges, move forward, and no matter what, no matter how confusing things seem, you're going to learn something new from it, and it's going to pay off in the long run, I assure you. And with that, I'd like to conclude. Thank you so much for your time. I hope I did not bore you at 4 in the evening, and I hope you have a great future ahead. I'd love to answer questions. I'd love to connect if you'd like to add me on LinkedIn and ask me any personal questions. I'd love to talk more. But I'd like to take questions now as well in how much ever time we have left. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nikhil. It was indeed a pleasure listening to you, sharing with our students the importance of skill building, importance of widening their research interests, the world of applications available for those pursuing physical sciences, the interesting varieties of fields that you have already shown to them, the skills that students need to hone if they would want to pursue higher education, like networking, mentoring. You actually spoke a lot about preparedness, how we need to be prepared if we would like to seek either job or higher education. You have definitely given valuable inputs for every listener who has been here on this platform. We have a question from a student, a couple of questions. One is, as an undergraduate student, can you name some projects that I can take which would enhance me? These are undergraduate, probably physical, the BSc students, not engineering students, BSc students. They're asking, are there projects that you could suggest we could pursue that could enhance the person's career?
Okay, well, that's a very, very nice question, and it's good that you're thinking about how to enhance your profile and your career. So the first thing, and I know I'm talking to a lot of students today, so there's no one size fits all. So what I would recommend, regardless of who's listening to this, is that first figure out if you want to focus on the science or the mathematics, or you want to go into the engineering side. So I know you're a Bachelor's of Science student now. Do you want to get into the technical side? Do you want to go into the engineering and technology side of things? Or if you want to enhance your profile in the science side of things? So you need to figure out these two things first. And once you figure that out, I strongly recommend searching for projects. And there are lots of projects in institutions like IIT, NIT, IISc, a lot of these institutions have professors who are working on projects. And how I recommend doing that is to go to their websites and search for projects or funding opportunities, or search for any openings that they have. An internship would help, like a few months internship would help if you want to pursue sciences. That would be very useful. Now, if you want to go into the engineering and technology side, I strongly recommend finding opportunities in companies that you're interested in. So these are two things that you can do, and I hope that answers your question. But I'd recommend first thinking about what you want to pursue a little bit, and then searching for opportunities.
Thank you. We don't have any other question, but I'm sure what you have shared has opened a variety of avenues for every student. Thank you, Dr. Nikhil. We know we ran into a technical glitch, but we managed with our own knowledge of technology. Now I request Dr. Nevis Vigilia, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, to propose the vote of thanks.
No duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks. Good evening, everyone, to one and all present here. It is an honor for me to get the opportunity to thank you all dignitaries. I would like to express my gratitude to both esteemed delegates of the webinar, Mr. John W. Amos, Director, Software Development Oracle, and Dr. Nikhil Gerard, Postdoctoral Scholar, Penn State University, USA. For both of you have taken out time from your busy schedule to grace this event. John, sir, you showed us the first signs of daylight, signaling the approaching dawn. Thank you, sir, for you motivated our student community to start from today. Thank you so much. And Dr. Nikhil, you gave us several good reasons to pursue higher education and research, which opens up new and exciting career opportunities. I wish there were a time machine which would take me 25 years back so that I can restart my career. I am duty bound to mention that both of your presence and contribution made this webinar a grand success. A special thanks to our dear principal, Dr. Sister Lalitha Thomas, for providing immense support throughout the planning of this webinar. Sister, you left no stone unturned to make this webinar successful. Thank you, sister. My sincere thanks to the organizing committee and to the technical team for your hard work and planning has given us this success. I would like to place my hearty thanks to all the volunteers and participants because of whom we made this webinar possible. My sincere thanks to one and all.